It is definitely a Tito's Vodka Bloody Mary Wednesday. Out of Bounds, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. I'm wearing one of the GOAT shirts, so you can watch on YouTube, search Out of Bounds Sports, or Facebook, search the Out of Bounds Show. Would love for you to also go to Apple Podcast and search the Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds. Thank y'all. We've had a big week on the podcast. That's Apple Podcast. Search the Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds. If you missed the Ross Dellinger interview on Name, Image, Likeness, where he referenced the Bulldog Initiative and the Grove Collective, if you missed the Ross Dellinger interview, Sports Illustrated, he had the big article on Cohen, Lane Train, and NIL. That's on Apple Podcast. Search the Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds. Good interview as we dove into the who, where, what, when on NIL. And that's what got Mississippi State people all hot and bothered as far as him talking about the Bulldog Initiative and so on. Our guests join us on the Dos Equis guest line. We are the Out of Bounds Show, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. Brought to you by Edwin Watts Golf Shop on County Line Road and Fuel Up at Fleetway Market, any of the 20 locations in the state of Mississippi. Hit the Market Cafe at Fleetway Market in Gluckstadt today or tomorrow or Friday for lunch. We welcome in Charlie Burris, Rocky Top, Vols insider, and they are rolling, and they're number one in the country. When was the last time we said that? Charlie will know. Number one in the country, never been ranked number one in the college football playoff rankings, never had an opportunity to brag on an iPhone or on Twitter that they beat Alabama, and they did this year. And now they take on the Georgia Bulldogs and the evil Kirby Smart. We welcome in Charlie Burris on the Out of Bounds Show and the Dos Equis guest line. Charlie Burris, what's happening, buddy?
Not much. It's a wild time, isn't it? I mean, everything that you just said is still I've been saying it is kind of just dreamlike. Like I'm almost like, when am I gonna hear my alarm and like lurch up out of bed, because this can't actually be happening. And yet here we are. I mean, this is game of the century type of stuff, right? I mean, it's number one versus number two. It's only from the thing that I saw, it's only happened 3 times in the modern era of SEC football, and the other 2 were LSU and Alabama back in the 9 to 6 days, and when we were all having to watch that torture. And so I mean, it's just, man, it's crazy. It really is crazy.
All right, when you look at Tennessee's number one, did you think there was any shot that I would be interviewing you on November 2nd, and I would, in the intro, let's say in August, did you think that there was any shot that I would be interviewing you on November 2nd and Tennessee would be number one and undefeated?
No, not even remotely. And I'm not, everybody, I think, in Tennessee media, most Tennessee fans, I think, would fess up and just say, no, I mean, absolutely not. You look at this roster and you look at what happened before we got here. 30-plus players leaving to the transfer portal. I mean, the place just got absolutely gutted. And then Josh Heupel comes in here and has, a tough time even convincing anyone that, we were feeling like, oh, well, he runs this gimmicky offense from UCF and yada, yada, yada. We all knew that the narratives of him coming in, and all of that has just gone so quickly out the window. I would say that I thought 10-2 was a real possibility, but even that was a little remote. I would have gone maybe 20% chance at 10-2. It would have involved beating Florida, which I thought was very possible, but still losing to Alabama and Georgia. But never would I have said Georgia will be number one versus number two for the East, and almost definitely for a spot in the college football playoff. I mean, who would have predicted that? It really, it's, as I said before, it's just unreal, right? It's it's just something that no one really could have envisioned, I think.
Who's more popular today in Knoxville, in the state of Tennessee? Hendon Hooker or Peyton Manning?
I think as of right now, crazily, more people are probably I don't want to say more people know Hendon Hooker's name, but I would say a whole generation has passed since Peyton Manning was the dude at Tennessee. And like I know a whole bunch of young people that never once saw Peyton Manning play at the University of Tennessee. I mean, of course, a lot of them he played in the NFL for forever, and so a lot of them saw him there, but they never saw him in an orange uniform. And this is the next guy. Hendon Hooker is becoming the next dude that Tennessee fans in the future will hold up. He'll come back to campus and always be a hero if for nothing else. I mean, if this thing flies off the tracks from here, that kid still beat Alabama. I mean, he's always going to be the guy that won the game against Alabama 15, after we had lost to them 15 times in a row. He will always be that. That's already cemented in stone. And if they win on Saturday and they make the college football playoff, God Almighty, it really
Y'all gonna burn that place down again.
Yeah, somebody asked me who's not like a Tennessee fan. They were like, "Oh man, what are you gonna do if you beat Georgia?" And I was like, I could see Tennessee fans going into empty Neyland Stadium and tearing down the goalposts again. I mean, this place is gonna be it's gonna be a riot. Like this, because I mean, this means it's the playoff. I mean, that's what that means. You got Missouri, South Carolina, and Vandy left.
It's a cakewalk, my man. After this,
yeah, and that's what is on the line here. And I think it also, I'm not sure enough people are talking about this. It's almost an elimination game for Georgia. There's the chance of them making it in with a loss to Tennessee is far less than Tennessee's chance of making it in with a loss to Georgia. And so, I mean, the stakes just couldn't be higher, man. It's really going to be wild.
Now, how many? We're visiting with Charlie Burris, Big Orange Podcast, Rocky Top Insider. He joins us on the Dos Equis guest line. Tennessee at Georgia, CBS. Tennessee at Georgia, CBS. And this is number 1 versus number 3. And Georgia's not number 1. Tennessee is. How many number 5 jerseys are in the Knoxville, Tennessee area right now, which is Hendon Hooker's number?
I mean, it's an endless amount. They probably can't print enough of them. But they also, you got to think too, Jalen Hyatt is really a focal point of this team. And that's another thing that nobody could have seen coming. This is a story that I think a lot of people locally would know, but I'm not sure that this has really gotten out at a national level, although I think a lot of people know his name at this point because of the 5-touchdown game against Alabama and stuff. But Jalen Hyatt last year, he barely played. And there was pretty conventional wisdom during that offseason that there was a pretty good chance he was going to transfer. Like, things had just gone sour. And the kid just was either convinced to stay or whatever may have happened, and then he just put his nose to the grindstone. And the real sort of miracle, if you want to call it that, the sort of crazy turn that happened for his emergence to happen here is that Cedric Tillman went out. Tennessee's primary star receiver. People were thinking All-American by the end of the season is going to be Cedric Tillman. Him going out freed up Jalen Hyatt and the other guys. There's other weapons there too, but of course he's been the star of that. And it was just this kind of freak thing where Cedric Tillman gets injured against Akron, and then Jalen Hyatt has this giant emergence and is the focal point of this Tennessee offense. And the kid was close to transferring in the offseason. Like, there's so much about this team that just feels, I hate this term, but I think it fits. It's like this sort of team of destiny. It's this weird stuff that's happened. You had in this last game against Kentucky, you had Jalen McCullough, who was the starting defensive back for Tennessee. He got arrested and was out for a couple of weeks because of that. In that couple of weeks, this kid, Danico Slaughter, gets brought up, and he really hadn't had a chance to play until then. He comes in against Kentucky this last week, lays down a vicious hit that turns into a tipped ball that becomes an interception for Tennessee, and then he had an interception in that game and played excellently throughout. It's just been these things where you go like, oh, well, this is bad. Cedric Tillman's hurt. Oh, well, here's Jalen Hyatt. Oh, well, Jalen McCullough's out. This is really bad. Oh, well, here's the Nico Slaughter coming in and making plays in his stead. And it's I don't know. Like I said, it's these things that it's just like, is this Team of Destiny stuff? As much as I hate that term, it makes me kind of cringe. But it just
let me ask you this,
way,
Charlie.
man.
Charlie Burris, Big Orange podcast on the Dos Equis guest line. Tennessee at Georgia, 2:30, CBS. How much, from your best source, how much money has Tennessee raised in their NIL fund?
God knows. So much.
5 million?
Even saw,
7 million? What do you think?
Oh, it's well.
8 million?
Just put it in perspective. I mean, after that Alabama win, Tennessee, in a joking way, did this goalpost fund. It didn't literally go to the goalposts that got ripped down. It was just an opportunistic fundraising thing for Tennessee, and I want to say that raised like $300,000 just right off the top, and that's from your common fans. So who knows from these mega donors?
Okay, let me ask you this: Would you venture to guess that it's over 10 million or under 10 million?
Probably. I could, because and this is another thing that kind of flies under the radar that's happened recently. Since 2020, Tennessee has had a guy as the president of the university who is himself a mega donor to Tennessee, Randy Boyd. And that's the president of the school. So you have a mega donor as the president. I mean, he is a famous like entrepreneur locally and alumni of the University of Tennessee. I mean, they didn't just take some guy that gave him a bunch of money and give him that spot. But so, I mean, God knows what kind of connections that guy has. And so probably, I mean, I have no idea. I'm not going to act like I do, but you just look, I mean, there are billionaires in this alumni base.
Right,
and
let me ask you this. Do you know of, does Hendon Hooker, he played well last year. Okay. Maybe it didn't happen in the offseason. Maybe it did, but now he's the best player in America, in my opinion. And Bryce is unbelievable and super cool and calm and, collective under stress and pressure. And Hendon will have to be that way against Georgia again on Saturday. Do you know of if Hendon Hooker has a big NIL deal or several NIL deals, Charlie?
Oh, he definitely does.
Okay.
I don't know exactly what they are, but yeah, I mean, the Spire Sports is kind of the primary.
The place out of New York.
NIL.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's my knowledge based out of Knoxville. It's actually
my bad.
A decent set of the folks that are there used to work for the university, but regardless, yeah, he works with them really closely, and I mean they've been incredibly aggressive. They were kind of the masterminds behind whatever happened with Nico Iamaleava, the 5-star quarterback from California that is coming to Tennessee this coming year. And so, yeah, I have no doubt that he has plenty coming in, and Hyatt too. And I actually know I actually talked to a former Tennessee player that has done a lot of work getting guys NIL deals, and he said that the deals that rolled in for Hyatt after that Alabama game were just like unreal. He said it was an unending list of people just being like, please advertise this. I think the one that's been missing is Hyatt Hotels. How do you not hop on that?
Oh my gosh, you just nailed it.
But apparently that has not happened, I don't think. But yeah, no, I mean the NIL's got to be going crazy for these dudes.
Goodness. Okay. Are you surprised it's an 8-point spread? That Georgia's favored by 8, considering the way your Vols are playing?
Yeah, I probably would have said more 4, 5, 6 at most, I think. This just really feels like a one-possession game to me, just personally. Either way, I can be convinced either way, I think. And so, yeah, I was a little surprised by that. I would say if I was a betting man on Tennessee. I'm too superstitious to do that, frankly. But if I was, I would have to go with Tennessee plus 8.5 there. It just doesn't sit right with me because I don't know. There's no way to confirm this until we see this game on Saturday. But Georgia's numbers are very good, and their talent is very good. But it feels like the numbers might be a little skewed this season just because the competition that they faced really hasn't been particularly high level.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the outlying factor here that is, I think, tough for everybody to analyze because Tennessee has played all that top-level talent and beat them. 2 top 10 wins already. But then, Georgia just really hasn't. And then they have these weird off games where they almost lost to Missouri.
I know.
It's odd. I honestly don't know.
I have more speed than Missouri's offense, so that's weird. Hey, did you see people crying when y'all beat Alabama?
Yeah, it's me. I actually genuinely I was here watching it with my brother-in-law and just an entire set of family members, and he definitely cried. I mean, that was one of the most common things I think you would have seen from Tennessee fans. Just the emotional release of that. Think of 15 years of frustration just coming out all at once, and that's kind of how that felt. It was overwhelming to say the least, I'd say.
Charlie Burris. All right, you picking it? Rocky Top with the win. Hendon Hooker goes in and takes Kirby Smart's manhood.
So I said I could be convinced either way. I've already made this prediction on my own show, so I can't be inconsistent. I said if this game's in Neyland Stadium, this is a touchdown plus win for Tennessee. I think in that scenario, it's a really bad matchup for Georgia, where they could be affected by a crowd. The fact that it is in Sanford Stadium is the sticking point here, and I said that gives Georgia the ability to play more mistake-free football. You're not affected by a crowd like that. And then their defense is stout, no matter the competition that they've played. And I said 3 points for Georgia because I broke it down like this. It's like if Tennessee and Georgia both play their absolute A game, I think Georgia wins out extremely close.
Fair enough.
If Tennessee plays their A game, Georgia plays B game, Tennessee win, and vice versa. And so it's really 2 scenarios where Georgia wins, 1 where Tennessee wins. So which one do I think will happen? And so it just feels more likely for Georgia.
If you make Stetson Bennett uncomfortable, he was actually uncomfortable some during the Florida game and had some errant throws. Now, those tight ends are nasty for Georgia, and they can pound the rock. So I'll be interested to see what your defensive coordinator does as far as, selling out to stop the run and just saying, hey, we're going man, and we're going to see if Stetson can beat us. I would think he'll kind of lean that way, but I'll look for that. You've got the much, 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 much better quarterback. They have more talent than you. And then Heupel's a hell of a play caller, and Kirby's a hell of a play caller on the defensive side of the football. I can't wait. All right, buddy. Thanks, Charlie Burris, Rocky Top Insider, Big Orange Podcast. We appreciate it. Have a great time this weekend.
Absolutely. I appreciate it, Bo.
All right. I want you to be wearing that number 5 jersey when you're watching the game. That would be Hendon Hooker, the quarterback for Tennessee, who, if he wins tomorrow, he wins the Heisman. How about that?
You ready to get a Hooker for Heisman sticker in here?
If Tennessee wins tomorrow, Hendon Hooker wins the Heisman.
I think that's probably pretty accurate, assuming they don't lose somehow down the stretch. Because C.J. Stroud is also right there. Like, whichever one of those guys stays perfect, if Tennessee's perfect and Ohio State's perfect, Hooker gets it. But if Tennessee loses somewhere, C.J. Stroud's winning it.
Yeah.
Because a perfect Ohio State quarterback is going to get the nod.
Yeah, you're right, even though they hadn't played anybody. Now, I wonder if Michigan can work Ohio State a little bit.
They struggled on the road at Penn State. That was their first true road game, and they struggled.
They did. They were down big, and then they just ripped off a bunch of points.
Well, they're a better team.
Right, in the fourth quarter. And Penn State's just, ugh, man. All right. So 2 big games on Saturday. Can't wait. One mid-afternoon. CBS decided to choose Tennessee and Georgia over Bama LSU.
It's the right call.
And then at night, at 6 o'clock, we get Bama, Georgia. And then a lot of you listening will be either in Davis Wade or watching that game. You'll have both games on because it still means a lot for you to win, obviously, and to beat Auburn, regardless if they're in shambles and dysfunctional. And, they've been decimated with coaching firings. How will they come out? For our listeners that don't know, Cadillac Williams is the interim coach for Auburn, the former star running back.
To me,
didn't Cadillac go to Tampa Bay and Ronnie went to Miami?
I think that's correct. Right? I believe that's correct.
All right.
One of them was in Tampa. I know that for a fact.
Okay,
I
so
can't
Cadillac,
remember which one.
isn't that funny? They both went to South Florida.
Yeah.
NFC, AFC, same draft. Why don't you look that up for me, Will? Cadillac went to Tampa Bay.
Yeah, Tampa.
Okay.
Yep.
I think when Gruden was there and running a horrific, antiquated offense.
There you go.
And Ronnie Brown went to Miami.
Let me ask you this question.
Boy, they were something. Woo!
Let me ask you this question. So I've seen 2 funny things on Message Board Geniuses today, okay? They both circle around our favorite coach and everyone's favorite coach, Jimbo Fisher.
Yeah.
One was an A&M message board post that was basically an A&M fan saying, can we not fire him for calls? Didn't we hire him for all this money to win and he's not winning? Isn't that cause? And so I thought that was pretty funny. Can we not fire him for calls?
That's funny.
And I mean, it's cause he sucks. And then the second one that I thought was great was an Alabama poster on Bama Online said he's good friends with the high school and is good friends with someone who works for the Ole Miss radio department and was in College Station and swears by this. And of course, this is a message board story. Says that in the tunnel following the game, Lane Kiffin ran into Jimmy Sexton, who represents both Jimbo and Lane.
And
Lane,
Ross Bjork.
And Lane allegedly, according to this Alabama message board poster, Lane apparently said, Jimmy, what are you doing here? You negotiating Jimbo's buyout?
Woo! Lane Kiffin doesn't ever stop taking shots.
God, I hope that's true.
Hey, if you miss Ross Dellinger on NIL, John Cohen and Lane Kiffin, go to Apple Podcast. Apple Podcast, search the Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds. And it's a Tito's Vodka Bloody Mary Wednesday, which is a good thing. The prize wheel was fun. Charlie Burris was good. We had a good time today. We'll be back tomorrow. And Steve Palazzolo will join us, NFL Insider. But if you miss Ross Dellinger on Mississippi State, Cohen, Lane Kiffin, Ole Miss, and NIL, go to Apple Podcast. Search the Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds. We'll see you tomorrow.